Hello, I hope you are having a fabulous day. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about identity, which is who we are or who you are. Think of a story for a moment that you personally relate to. A story, it can be a story you've read or a story you've watched or a story you've listened to that you personally relate to. Like you feel a connection to the events in the story or the characters or something feels like it says something about your life. Just think about that for a moment. When we read stories, and when we hear stories, and when we experience stories in a whole bunch of different ways, we often relate to those stories personally. And one way that we can think about stories is through the lens of identity. And a lens is just a focus for your reading. A lens helps you zoom in on different ideas and parts of the text. So just like a lens on like a camera or a lens on like a microscope helps you focus on specific things, a lens when you are reading helps your mind focus on certain things. So today I want to talk about using a lens of identity. So thinking about who we are as we read and holding on to that and seeing where our texts can help us think about that a little bit. So two things that we can look for. So our identity lens is going to be holding on to who you are as you read a text and focusing on the connections and questions you have. So first, we're going to look for mirrors. Mirrors are going to be parts of the text that reflect your identity and experiences. So it's going to be things you personally relate to. So things like maybe you have experienced a similar thing, or you understand a certain feeling that a character expresses, or you have grown up in a similar situation, or you are reminded of your family or your pets or your friends or something like that. So it's basically a connection that you have to the text. We can also look for windows, so parts of the text that you don't relate to, but that help you understand other people more fully. So it's going to be like, well, I don't understand this. I have not experienced this. But now that I'm reading this story, I can think about this thing, or this seems to make a little bit more sense to me. So let's look at Tia Isa Wants a Car and think a little bit about mirrors and windows. So we read the first half of the story last week. And if you have not seen that video, it is up on last week's Canvas page. If you were not here last week, you can go into modules and find that. So let's see. Do we have anything that we can look for? So we're looking for mirrors and windows. So mirrors, again, are those things that we relate to personally, like we've experienced a similar thing. Obviously, for each of us, that's going to be different. I've experienced different things than you've experienced. So what's a mirror for me might be a window for you, and vice versa. So one thing that I noticed, this is a small mirror for me, is that I also love going to the beach. I used to go to the beach with my family in the summer and things like that. So that's a very small mirror that I noticed. I also enjoy going to the beach. Another mirror that I noticed is how much her family cares about each other. They are really helpful. They are saving up money to send home. And my family also really cares about each other and are really supportive of each other. And so I feel like that's a little bit of a mirror. Some places where I see windows, this family lives in an apartment right in a city where they walk to everything they need. I live in Noblesville, Indiana, where it is really hard to walk to everything you need. There's not a whole lot of places you can live in where you can walk to literally everything you need. Most people in Indiana have to have a car, right? So the idea of not having a car is kind of a window for me, or not needing to have a car but wanting a car. And that idea, that's kind of a window for me. Another window is growing up living with my aunt and uncle. That is not something that I experienced. So reading about this and being separated from her parents, that is something that I have not experienced. So reading this story maybe helps me understand that a little bit more. Obviously, I can't understand it completely, but this story can tell me a little bit about what it's like and help me understand a little bit more. So, if we go back to here, those are mirrors and windows. So mirrors are those parts that reflect your own identity and experiences. Windows are parts that you don't personally relate to, but they help you understand others more fully. There is one more thing we can look at, and that is sliding glass doors. So sliding glass doors are parts of the story that confuse you or leave you stuck. They are parts where you're like, I do not understand this, and this story is not helping me understand it. So you're going to investigate your confusion, and when that happens, that can lead you to a greater understanding of others. So one way we can notice sliding glass doors is to think about issues being addressed in the text and see how the text might add to or change your understanding of those ideas or those issues. So let's read on in the story and see if we notice anything that confuses us or leaves us a little bit stuck. So we ended here. Our narrator was visiting all of these people around town and telling them that she wanted to save up money so Tia Isa could buy her car. And she's been doing odd jobs for them. Okay. Tia Isa wants a car, but why does it take so long to save? Sometimes it's hard to wait for good things to happen, she says. Then she reads me Mommy's letter. Abuelo is feeling a little better. Mommy feeds him crab soup. Papi plays him old songs on his guitar. So I wait and wait until one day my secret money sock has grown into a giant money sausage and can't wait anymore. I show Tia my surprise. The curly bills tumble onto her bed. She leaves 2 pink lip marks on my forehead from her pizzito. Vamos, Tia, let's go, I tell her, tiptoeing past Tio Andres, who is playing cards with the men from work. She chases after me all the way to the lot. Tia Isa wants a car, and I find it hiding near the rusty fence, shiny green, wide as the porch of Tia Isa's old house. Already I can feel the seashells between my toes. Ese mismo, she says, the very one. Bad radio. No air conditioning, warns the man. But Tia Isa is already touching the front seat, big enough for 3. She nods when I show her there's room in the back for more of us. We'll come soon. You're right, mija, she says. This one will take us all where we want to go. We'll take it, I tell the man. Tia Isa turns on the car, whose motor cranks with a puff of genie smoke, and then it says, arroz, 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 arroz. First things first, she says. She pulls out the only thing left in our envelope, which is skinny now, like an empty balloon. It's a picture of our whole family, me, Tia Isa, and Tio Andres, but also my parents, grandparents, and cousins, los padres, abuelos, and primos, who are still there, thinking about us from that breezy house by the sea. I hold the picture steady while she tapes down the corners. Then Tia Isa leans into the hula hoop wheel, and off we go. My ponytail flaps behind me like a rope cut loose. We zoom along Sanford Avenue, past my school and the other buildings so squat and red, past a bus full of tired people squeezed close the way I hate, with no room to spin on the bars inside. Tia Isa bought a car, I shout. Tia Isa steers us to the spot I point to. The rumbling car fits in the space just right. our neighbors come out to see. Hurry now, apurate, she tells me. I check for the frowning super and run to the patch of keep-off grass. I whistle until Tio Andres finally comes out to look. Tia Isa bought a car, I call. Come down and see. He laughs in surprise at his ridiculous sister. You did it, he says, smiling to his back teeth. We did it, Tia Isa says, and there's room for us all. Tia Isa and I bought a car to carry us all to the sea. Okay, so think for a moment. Are there any places where you are stuck? Are there any ideas that are sort of like, I don't really understand this, or I'm still sort of confused? One thing that sticks out to me as a potential sliding glass door, which again is a place where we're kind of stuck, and maybe doing some more reading about this topic could lead us to a better understanding of other people. And one thing that I'm thinking with this story is like, why are they separated from their family? I can like guess at some ideas, but I don't really know, and the story doesn't really tell me, right? That is something that I'm still kind of stuck, and I feel like I would need to learn more to understand that part of the story. I would need to go do some research or read another story about a similar topic, and see if I could find some more information about like how that happens and how things go that way. And what happens in those situations, because I don't really understand that yet. That has not happened to me, and the story's not really telling me those details, which makes perfect sense. Not all stories are going to tell us every detail of an experience. So sometimes we're going to still have questions, and we're going to still have things that, oh, that doesn't quite make sense. And that's where we want to think about, maybe we should read some more, or maybe we should look for more information. So those are our sliding glass doors. So what I want you to do now is write for a moment about what we've talked about today. So write a little bit more. Where do you see yourself in this story? How does it help you see other people more clearly? And where are you still stuck that you might want to think and learn more about? So take a few moments, write about these 3 questions, turn that writing in on Canvas when you are done, and then take some time to read your memoir. And maybe while you are reading your memoir, think a little bit about mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors that you are noticing in your memoir. All right, have a fabulous